So maybe you've been here where you're driving home from work, you're super duper caffeinated because you just stayed up all night and your adrenaline's going and you're like, I'm gonna become a nurse practitioner. And you are super high on that idea and you're like, I'm gonna do it. It's gonna be the best. I love it. And after you come off of this exhilarating high, you realize you have to pick which kind of nurse practitioner you want to be. And that can be a little bit tricky. Obviously, the best type of nurse practitioner is a family nurse practitioner, but there are other types as well. In today's video, I'm going to explain why I became, can you guess, a family nurse practitioner. And my hope is that by sharing that with you, you'll be able to gain some insight into how you can narrow down your specialty as well, if you're considering the whole NP thing. If not, then hey, you could always just listen and hear how I kind of mind rambled my way into my career. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Liz. Like I said, I'm an FNP, but before that, I was an adult med-surg GI liver nurse for a year and a half, at which point I fled to the world of pediatrics and stayed very happily at my peds cardiothoracic job until I became a nurse practitioner. Today, we're going to look at several different types of NP trajectories, and I'll tell you kind of my thought process on how I arrived at was FNP for me, and maybe some tips for how you can figure out your path as well. And while you're watching this, I want you to let me know down in the comments, are you balancing different career options, kind of different paths where you have to pick a fork and really go in one direction or the other? Let me know down in the comments so we can all learn from each other. All right, so the first thing you're gonna encounter is the inpatient versus outpatient dilemma. And I knew straight away that I did not want to go the inpatient route. I cried every single holiday I had to work as a bedside nurse. And I dreamt of like weekends where I could hang out with Joe and my dog. Avery was still a far off concept at this point. And I had also developed a passion for patient education and outpatient preventative medicine through my job on my med-surg unit, where you know the patient in 52, maybe if she had known about diabetes and what complications came with it and how she could prevent them, maybe her toe wouldn't have fallen off and we wouldn't be in this mess because she didn't know what diabetes even was. Also, acute care just wasn't my jam in terms of patient relationships. I wanted something where you could have a relationship with a patient long-term, and the whole point of acute care is you don't want a long-term relationship. You want to have them come in, fix them, and ship them right back out into the world because that's the job. I also just know myself, and I have never been the one to thrive in high stress, chaos situations. I don't love codes. I'm not exhilarated when people have to be cannulated onto ECMO. That's just not my jam. Nothing wrong if it's yours. That's just not personally my passion. And finally, what really cemented it was I wanted to be able to take care of my patients when they were healthy and ill. And that's something that can be accomplished in primary care versus acute care, because you're not going to the hospital if you're healthy, unless you're really, really bored or love that cafeteria food. So for those reasons, primary care was a really easy option for me. That first step was super easy to identify, and hopefully it gave you some things to think about so you can think, primary or acute. That's definitely where I suggest that you start if you are considering diverging on this path. And since it eliminates so many programs off the bat, that's definitely where I would suggest you start your diverging path exploration as well. If you need a few more prompts kind of in your head, you can always ask yourself, do you view yourself working in an office setting or in the hospital? Both obviously have pros and cons. Inpatient, your schedule can be super flexible. While you might be working some nights, some weekends, you're working maybe 3 12s a week, and that's pretty awesome. That can provide you with a lot more flexibility for your family, as well as vacations when you don't even have to take vacation time. Also, you can occasionally use the magic phrase, I'm not sure, but you'll just have to follow up with your primary care provider for that one. Always the best phrase ever, AKA, I don't really know, that's not my problem. We can't use that in primary care because that is now our problem. Step 2, now that I had established what kind of setting I wanted to work in, I had to decide what types of humans I wanted to work with. And that is the step that I would suggest you tackle next as well. So if you have followed me for any length of time, you are well aware that I love inpatient pediatrics. I really love peds. And I knew that's where I wanted to have my nursing career go from the second I decided, yep, I think I want to be a nurse. And if you're looking at just that, it makes total sense that I would naturally want to go the pediatric NP route. And it's something you guys ask me about all the time. Why aren't you a peds NP if you love peds? But here's the thing, I really like and enjoy spending time with children. And yes, pediatrics is obviously children, but there's a huge difference between inpatient and outpatient pediatrics. Inpatient peds, you are dealing largely with the child. You're providing direct care to them. Parents are there and you're providing parent education, but you are dealing primarily with the child. Primary care pediatrics is mostly about the parents. You talk to the parent a lot of times about their child, talk about the parent's concerns. You're doing developmental assessments where they're about the child. Yes, the child is the focus, but you are interacting primarily with the parent. And I am a parent and am wildly aware that we can be really, really annoying and incessant and have all the questions and ask them 8 million times. And then you tell us your recommendations and we just don't even listen to them because mama knows best. I'm that person. I get it. I've been there. And guys, that's what your pediatrician or your Peds NP, that's what they're there for, is to ask questions board, to be that sounding board and the advice giver. But for some reason, man, that just like annoyed me. And we should absolutely encourage those questions and foster that relationship. We should probably just ask them to people who are less grumpy than me. I, for whatever reason, just don't have the patience in those environments. I don't know if it's because I get upset when I see parents doing things other than like how the recommended guidelines would be or how I would do it, and I feel that that child is at a disadvantage because of it, or I feel like things could be done better and I can't change that. That was really hard for me. I don't know if that played into it or if I just don't have patience or what, if that's just not what I meant to do. But either way, it annoyed me and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go into something where it annoys me because those parents deserve to talk to someone who's not annoyed. Unfortunately, there are wonderful humans out there, pediatricians, pediatric NPs, PAs that go into pediatrics that have all the patience in the world for those questions. They just want to be a fountain of knowledge and talk about all those peds things all day outpatient, and we're gonna let them do that. So that's why, guys, I get asked this literally all the time, like, why aren't you a Peds NP? That's why. It just didn't make me happy to do only that. Don't know why, but I wasn't gonna go into something that made me grumpy. So all that to say, primary care pediatrics was out. And that left me with family nurse practitioner, primary care adult geriatric nurse practitioner, ooh, that's a mouthful, or like a women's health nurse practitioner. So we'll look at the differences between these real quick in case you're looking at them. Family nurse practitioner sees every human from birth to the end of life. We affectionately call it womb to tomb. If you want to hear more about exactly what an FNP does, I will link a video up here and down in the description below that just goes over why family nurse practitioners are the best of all nurse practitioners. Just kidding. It's just a general overview of kind of like what FNPs are, what jobs they can work in, and different things about the role, what they can do, what they can't do. So if you're interested after this video, make sure to go check that one out. Back to what we were talking about. Next, you can kind of evaluate adult gerontology. So the scope of practice for an adult gero NP is age 13 and older. And I was able to eliminate this one because while I don't want to work only with children in primary care, I still love kids and I would love to be able to dabble. And I found that when I'm able to provide just like every now and then primary care education for littles and their parents, I loved it. As long as that wasn't what I was doing all day, for some reason that worked for me. And I love being able to see kids. And I really love the idea of being able to see the whole family. That just like was like, yes, like if I could be your whole family's primary care provider, life goals. And along the lines of this, I wanted to be able to treat the whole family. And some families, there are dudes. So that kind of made it a women's health nurse practitioner out for obvious reasons. So family it was. I could see everyone, I could dabble in kids, I could deal with the whole adult lifespan, and it gave me the right feeling, which I think is huge too. You just gotta like sit with it for a minute and be like, yeah, that sits with me well. That's what I want to do. And it's okay, guys, if you don't pick family nurse practitioner. I totally understand that there are other people who are misguided in their idea that there are other specialties. Guys, really, there's so many and they're so wonderful, and FNP is not the end all be all, okay? Go check them all out. And that's that. There you go. That's how I got to my decision. Probably, if you watch my videos, you know I usually have a lot more steps than that, but this one just had two. 1, 2. Pick your setting, pick your people. Bam! Family nurse practitioner. Okay, so that is how I decided my career path, how I picked my place in this world, if you will. Hopefully that just talking out loud just kind of helped you guys identify at least how you would maybe go about picking that, or gave you an insight into some of the pros and cons of your choices. Again, if you guys are new here, I'm Liz. I'm a family nurse practitioner and I do weekly nursing content related videos like this on Tuesdays and vlogs on Saturdays where I kind of just document my life as a nurse practitioner. If you're into that, consider subscribing below and head on over to Instagram where I put clips of like what I'm doing at work, what I'm doing with a family, all that good stuff. I'd love to hang out with you and chat over on that platform. Also, if you are interested or are just up for something super duper cringy, I have a very rough video that was one of my first videos I ever made that goes into how to kind of pick an NP specialty a little bit more in depth than in this video. And I will link that down in the description box below. It's very cringy, just keep that in mind, but maybe you need a good laugh. It's worth a good laugh. I think it's like the second video I ever made, but it does have some good information in it and could help you if you're struggling with kind of which direction to take. As always, we're gonna end with our question of the day, which is, are you deciding between like different career path forks? Let me know what they are down in the comments. And if you're already a nurse practitioner and you've chosen the golden path of FNP, or you're a pediatric nurse, holler at me down in the comments because you have chosen well, my friends, chosen well. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, guys. Hope you have a fabulous rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye.